Hello again. Now I'm going to present the necessary state of the art related with the problems of this distinction between constitutive rules and regulative rules. A lot of authors have presented different criticism to this distinction, but I try to only focus on those two main groups or main sets of criticism. On one hand, we will see the criticism focus on the dispensability of the Y term, that it's named a mere linguistic distinction because these authors, Lewis, Ross, and in some manner Hendricks too, consider that the function of constitutive rules is only present those different ways to call the same thing. On the other hand, we will see the violability of constitutive rules. So these authors, Williamson, Garcia Carpintero, and Duarte too, criticize this, the third argument that we have just seen about that is focusing in the impossibility to violate the constitutive rules. In this case, I'm only focused on the two main authors, Lewis and Ross, and Williamson and Garcia Carpintero, because we don't have enough time. First, contra-argument, the linguistic distinction. We will start with the Lewis account that is shown in his paper of 1979, whose name is Scorekeeping in a Language Game. Here, Lewis tells us that we can understand the baseball rules through a set of regulative and constitutive rules, or through a set where only have regulative rules. For instance, he showed us this example of the correct play. In one set, we will have both kinds of constitutive rules, and regulative rules. Correct play occurs at the game stage if and only if the player's behavior at that stage bears such and such relation to score at that stage. This will be the definition of correct play, the constitutive rule, plus all players are to behave through the game in such a way that play is correct. This will be the regulative rule that tells us how to behave in relation with this correct play. And Lewis defends that we can have the same understanding of the play of baseball with a set of only regulative rules. The case will be all players are to behave through the game in such a way that the player's behavior at that stage bears such and such relation to the score at the stage. So here we can easily see how Lewis tried to avoid the importance of the term correct play in this second option, trying only to mix the X term with the behavior that the regulative rules tell us how to behave with this in the baseball game. Ross defends a similar point in his paper Ontology, that from 1957. He tells us a very funny fairy tale where he imagined a situation in a place, but the important point is that he tells us that from 1 and 2 we can logically inference number 3. Number 1 tells us if a person has eaten of the cheese food, he is 2-2. And if a person is 2-2, he shall be subjected to a ceremony of purification. It is not important from Ross if 2-2 effectively has meaning or not, because we can understand the concept of 2-2 with the simple 3. If a person has eaten of the cheese food, he shall be subjected to a ceremony of purification. Another argument that it's important to know to understand my presentation is the violability of constitutive rules. Here I will present the Williamson approach and the Garcia Carpintero, that is the parts from the Williamson approach. Williamson, in a very famous paper from 2002, tell us that we can understand assertion as a constitutive rule, but as a deontic constitutive rule. And he defends that this is the adequate manner to relate assertion and knowledge. He said that we can understand assertion through this rule. The knowledge rule, one must assert P only if one knows P. But furthermore, due to this deontic presentation of his constitutive rule, he tells us that the rule unconditionally forbids this combination. One assert P when P lacks C. The combination is possible. Otherwise, it will be pointless to forbid it. With this, Williamson defends that we can have a correct assertion or an incorrect assertion. For instance, if I say, okay, yesterday I have seen the paperboy, but I'm not very sure if that guy was really the paperboy or was only a children that is with a paper in his hand, I can affirm an assertion, but a false assertion. So with this deontic constitutive rule, Williamson wants to press this possibility of commit or done assertions, but without the necessary condition of the knowledge. Following with this idea, García Carpintero, in a paper that is forthcoming, criticized the availability argument that we see afterwards. He said that the inviolability argument has the unacceptable consequences that cheaters, tactical breakers of constitutive rules, or inept players are not playing the relevant game. He defends that we should distinguish the different roles that players play in when they are breaking some constitutive rule. So with this aim, he presents he presents the position of the abuses and the misfires, following the terminology of Austin. When a player is committing an abuse, he or she has the intentionality to follow and respect the constitutive rules, but for some irrelevant action, he breaks one of the constitutive rules. But it's so irrelevant because he or she still has the intentionality that the play is still continues. So he said that Searle is not correct when he defends that when we break a constitutive rule, we stop playing. Because, for instance, if an inept player that wants to really follow the correct rules, the constitutive rules, but commit some mistake, we usually understand that he's still playing the game. In the case of misfire, it's different because he also recognized that in some cases it's evident that the people is not playing the game. His approach defends that some player is committing a misfire when he or she doesn't have the intentionality to respect or to follow the constitutive rules of the game. Thank you very much.